So put your hands together, stand up. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Godfather, Jimmy Cliff.
Jimmy Cliff was born James Chambers in Somerton, St. James, Jamaica. That matters because St. James isn't just a place, it's a texture. Country air, church echoes, road dust, a radio sounding like it's fighting to breathe through static. In Kingston, Cliff began recording in the early 1960s. Songs like Miss Jamaica, 1962, show up in the early chapter of his catalog, while producers and studios shaped the scene around him. This was the era where Jamaican music was shifting fast, a ska energy, rock steady calm, reggae beginning to speak in a deeper tone. One of the first big early milestones attached to his name is Hurricane Hattie, often cited as a key early hit in his story. But what matters more than the title is what it represents. Cliff learned early that a song could be bigger than the day it was made, that a record could leave the island before the artist ever did. And this is where the voice behind the voice idea starts to build. Because even early on, Jimmy Cliff wasn't just making songs, he was making templates, messages of survival, pride, and forward motion that other people could sing like they wrote it themselves. Then comes the late 1960s, the moment the outside world starts to catch the signal. In 1969, Wonderful World, Beautiful People becomes a UK top 10 hit, peaking at number 6. That's not small. That's reggae knocking on mainstream doors at a time when many people outside Jamaica couldn't even separate reggae from ska, from calypso. Picture the object detail, a 7-inch with a Trojan label passed hand to hand, a turntable needle dropping, a room that suddenly feels warmer than the weather outside. That's how music spreads in real life, more like gossip than like a press release. And Cliff's voice was perfect for crossing over. Sweet, clear, but with a steel thread underneath. A voice that could carry urgency without screaming. Real quick comment, the first Jimmy Cliff song that ever found you. Now we're going to push the story deeper than he had a hit, because the next part is where the weight enters. Around this period, Cliff records Many Rivers to Cross, a song widely understood as speaking to struggle and endurance. We're not quoting lyrics here. We're talking about mood, that slow burn of somebody who's walked into rooms and still felt like an outsider. This is Cliff stepping into a role he would hold for decades. The singer who can make pain sound dignified, not drama for drama's sake. More like a man telling you, yeah, life rough, but I'm still here. And this is another voice behind the voice clue. When artists across genres cover Cliff, they often go for that exact emotion. Hope that's earned, not gifted. We're going to prove that later. Then there's Vietnam, a protest record tied to the costs of war. And here's where the internet loves a headline. The story repeated in multiple places, including Cliff's own official bio, is that Bob Dylan once called Vietnam the greatest protest song ever written. Now, to keep this documentary honest, treat that as a widely repeated quote story, not a courtroom certified fact. But even as a rumor, it tells you something real. Cliff's protest music hit people as serious writing, not island vibes. And it sets up the next big pivot, because the moment Cliff becomes more than an artist is the moment he becomes a character the world can watch. In 1972, Jimmy Cliff stars in Perry Henzel's film, The Harder They Come. And that alone would be enough to put him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame conversation. Cliff plays Ivan Martin, and the movie soundtrack becomes one of the biggest cultural export packages Jamaica ever shipped. This is where Loop 2 starts paying off. Because if you want to understand how reggae became global, you can't ignore what this film did. It put Jamaican language, Jamaican streets, Jamaican ambition, and Jamaican reality on a screen that traveled, and the soundtrack traveled even further. Now the core angle sharpens. Cliff isn't just singing songs anymore. He's carrying a whole world in his voice. The passport stamp happens here, but the global consequences take decades. From this era, you can get it if you really want. Stands tall as the kind of message Cliff delivered, better than almost anybody. Struggle acknowledged, but not worshipped. Again, no big lyric quotes, just the energy. It's a forward-leaning song, A song that sounds like somebody pushing you out the door because staying stuck is more dangerous than trying. And right here, the voice behind the voice theme gets louder because songs like this don't just live as recordings. They live as advice people pass around when life is heavy. So when you hear Cliff, you're not just hearing melody, you're hearing a philosophy of survival. Now zoom out. After the film Glow, the reality of the music business still waits. The global market loves reggae when it feels exotic or fun, but it can get uncomfortable when reggae shows the truth, poverty, politics, violence, pressure. So Cliff's journey becomes what many pioneers face. You're famous enough to represent a genre, but you still have to fight to steer your own story. And that fight is where reinvention enters the chat. Fast forward into the 1980s, Cliff finds new momentum, and by the mid-80s, he wins a Grammy. His album, Cliffhanger, takes Best Reggae Recording. The win is credited to 1986. This matters for the Biography arc because it proves something. Cliff wasn't just a moment from the early reggae era. He kept moving with the times and still sounded like himself. This also begins. How does an artist survive long enough to become a living bridge between eras? Then comes 1993, and suddenly, Jimmy Cliff is in a new kind of mainstream conversation. His version of I Can See Clearly Now becomes deeply associated with the film Cool Runnings. And this is one of those moments where the voice behind the voice concept becomes undeniable because a whole group of people didn't discover Cliff through ska history or Jamaican cinema. They discovered him through a movie moment, through a feeling of uplift that hit at the right time. That's the power of a timeless voice. It can enter through any door. Radio, film, somebody's older cousin's cassette, a cover version.
Yeah, man. Blessed love to all.
In 2010, Jimmy Cliff is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, recognized as one of reggae's key global champions. That's not just an award shelf moment, that's a cultural statement. Reggae isn't side music to rock history. Reggae helped shape modern popular music's DNA. And Cliff's name goes into that permanent record, right beside the fact that if he had done nothing but star in The Harder They Come, he would still deserve major recognition. Here's proof he wasn't just present, he was foundational. Now the part that makes younger artists respect him even more. The late career surge. In the 2010s, Cliff drops Rebirth, and it wins Best Reggae Album at the Grammys, one of the most meaningful second win moments reggae has seen. But did that win also locks his story into a rare category? Artists who didn't just survive their era, they returned with something that still sounded urgent. This is where the voice behind the voice flips. Now the younger world is chasing him again, not just borrowing from him. If this story hits you, subscribe and comment your #1 Jimmy Cliff track. As of Nov 24, 2025, major outlets reported that Jimmy Cliff died at 81, with reporting that he suffered a seizure followed by pneumonia.